Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Hey guys, I'm Marie Meliora. Welcome to my channel. By a popular request of one person, actually there was two people on the channel. By my scale, it's a highly requested video that I'm filming for you. The perfumes, the fragrances that are targeted for men, but I actually bought them for myself. I included some here that could be targeted also as unisex, and one that is actually marketed for women, but I consider that to be way more toward unisex than a lot of people know of. Anyway, I've been on the hunt for I really like men's colognes for the quality of, they always have a high quality and very reliable base. Be it some woody notes, be it some amber, be it spices, be it leather, be it tobacco. It's very common, I find, especially when you go to more like a designer toward budget perfumery, that fragrances that are marketed toward women have almost no base whatsoever. It's all in the head space and the heart of the middle notes, and then it kind of like dies down to nothing. So what I've been doing for many years, way before I got enough money to buy myself niche perfumes or even like higher tier luxe designer, I would buy a cheap but very cohesive in its base men's cologne, and I would layer fruity female kind of fragrances or florals or bergamot or tea, like anything on top of that, and together with this solid and long-lasting base, I could elevate it with fruity or floral notes to a proper bouquet, like a proper pyramid. It's been quite a few years since then, and I decided to revamp my men's cologne collection that I actually use myself, and I've bought quite a few. I haven't tested all of them, so this is going to be more like a more traditional haul. If you have been wearing those, if you've been gifting those, if you like really well versed within some of the brands and some of the names that I'm going to be sharing here, please let me know in the comments down below. Let's talk more about that. Maybe there are some variations of these that are even better suited as unisex than the ones that I picked up. And I'll start from a rather well-known and a kind of like cult favorite, the very much like a golden standard of when you want a perfume that is not super standard but you don't want to pay too much for it. This is the lines of John Varvatos. A lot of their perfumes tend to be on a sweeter side. This what sort of drives a lot of women's attention toward them, to not necessarily toward who wears them, but I mean in terms of like try them on yourself. And I find that their base is very reliable. Just like I said, it's solid, well blended, it lasts a long time, it never goes to a like cheapish chemical scent either. So I just like a very recent purchase, I smelled a bunch of them and I got myself a classic. Let's pull that beauty out. So this is classic John Varvatos Eau de Toilette. I also love how they bottle their perfumes. I really like the form factor and the quality of the bottles. So this is what I call a perfect layering fragrance. It's not super complicated, but it's basically, I don't really get much of the top notes with it. It's almost immediately goes to the heart and the base for me. And when I feel there, it's very reliable, kind of like a leatherish, thin, well-blended leatherish base. It's a bit too basic in my mind to be worn by itself, especially if you're already kind of been exposed to a lot of niche, but it's a beautiful fragrance to layer with. It will go beautifully with all kinds of spices. It will go well with even some fruity notes. All in all, I would say it's like a perfect layering fragrance that will make every other fragrance more balanced, more foundational, and add a little bit of touch of leather and kind of will make it a little bit more substantial, if you wish. So that's a new addition to my collection, and I plan to wear it a lot in combination with other perfumes. Another one by John Varvatos that I've been circling around for over a month, maybe 2 months actually, because I heard about it from a friend blogger of mine, Irina, who loves to wear it in the cold weather, and for her it is like the perfect tobacco with kind of plum liquor. It's almost like a kind of like old-fashioned with plum liquor in a way. So I got a little sample of it, finished it, and I kept kind of cycling back whether I want to buy the full bottle or not. And this is John Varvatos Dark Rebel. The thing that attracts me to it is that it's like the cheapest tobacco plus plum liquor that is on the market. For a similar combination of flavors, you will pay well over $100 in the niche, sort of like female, if you wish, segment. Comme des Gargons, what is it? Oh, it's like they have a purple bottle that's some like a plum liquor. There are a bunch of Arabic fragrances that kind of feature cherry liquor or plum liquor, and yet to me, this is the best bang for your buck if you really want this kind of syrupy, plum, sweet plum wine with tobacco laverish notes, all very well blended together. It's not spectacular, and in that sense, that's what really stopped me from buying it on the spot, because doesn't have the same kind of complexity and depth that the niche in like hyperluxe perfumes do have that have similar note. It always stays somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit flat, to be honest, just a little bit flat, but again, it gets the message delivered. It's so delicious, especially in cold weather, and I just foresee wearing it with my leather jacket and just enjoying it. It's really good. I also really like the packaging. Again, I think John Varvatos nailed it in terms of the price range, the packaging, and the universality of the perfumes that they produce. So I actually used up the whole sample, and I already started using this bottle. So far, so good. No disappointments here, no regrets here as well. Okay, next. Let's get this out of the way. This is actually a perfume that's marketed toward women, but I find it to be a perfectly suited perfume, even with some of a niche kind of sound that comes from a celebrity house. This is Eau de Gaga by Lady Gaga. First of all, even if you're the most conservative of all men, you will not be embarrassed by having this on your, I don't know, vanity table. Does that really apply? I mean, all of us have some kind of space where we get ready. It could easily be like a niche perfume. The only thing you can possibly hold against it that is Lady Gaga, that it's a celebrity perfume. Otherwise, really well packaged. Yeah, I find this to be exceptional quality for the price of like $10, maybe 15. This one goes, it's almost gin and tonic in a bottle. If you really want me like to to stay in the message, to be short and concise, for me this is one of those mojito gin and tonic kind of lemony lemon drop cocktails that is just beautiful for summer, and actually goes really well all year long if you're into kind of like fresh bergamot citruses with a touch of bitterness. So Eau de Gaga a definite favorite when it comes to sort of going across the aisle and really getting a lot of bang for your buck. Highly recommend you to try it. The next one is, okay, this is hard to find, but is beloved on Fragrantica. If you look at the comments, people are just praising it. It's like an underrated gem that very few people know about. So Chopard had several boutique lines. All of them, they didn't really seem to advertise as much, so most of their boutique lines and like limited edition lines are not very well known. One of them came, it was something Meliora. It would be like a note or, you know, like a particular component Meliora. And the one that I got is called Musk Meliora. So I already decanted it into a travel spray and I carried it in my purse, and I use it mostly in the mornings when I really need to get into some kind of like put together, you know, I'm working today, like I need to accomplish a lot, I'm a very serious person. This is the kind of thing, when I need that kind of effect, I use that. So Chopard Musk Meliora is an exceptionally clean in terms of how smooth and cleaned up the components are blended together. You know, some perfumes, they have a more of a like heavier, dirtier smell. Some of them are a little bit sharp and thorny. This is impeccably clean, impeccably smooth, very, very cleaned up, leathery musk. The musk here makes me think of not Narciso Rodriguez or any of those kind of like Tom Ford or anything that Francis Kurkdjian would do, but the opposite spectrum. The musk that makes you think of a freshly ironed, clean, like white shirt, you know, like very smooth, kind of Hugo Boss in style fashion. So, Musk Meliora is incredibly seductive in a very quiet way, because it doesn't scream, it doesn't enter the room before you, it doesn't make any kind of statement, but it gives you this sense of confidence, of quiet, focused confidence. And for that, I absolutely love it on me, and I love it on other people as well. Not the cheapest one, but if you hunt it down on Mercari, on eBay, or on like some online discount sites, you can find it for around 60 bucks. And that will be a good price for it, because its original price is much more expensive. I'm super intrigued in the other perfumes in this line. So I think they have Rose Meliora, they have Oud Meliora, and others. It seems like Chopard just can't do no wrong in my book, because their combinations, just like Cartier, are always just impeccably smooth and cleanly put together, just very, very polished. That's the word. All right, the next one. Okay, let's go through a plethora of things I'm testing. I'm trying to test a bunch of things, trying to choose what I'm gonna buy in full size. So here we have quite a collection. I've been asking some of you guys actually in the comments, and I think on Instagram as well, and opinions vary. So I'm trying to figure out which Guerlain I should buy for myself, and I've got two. Unfortunately, couldn't find Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum, so just couldn't find it in a small size, like in a sample size. So I got Le Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette. Am I right? Yep. And I got the one in L'Homme Ideal Cologne. I know there are many of them, and everybody says that the most appropriate unisex would be the Eau de Parfum one. I just can't find it for some reason to test. The L'Homme Ideal Cologne from Guerlain. The cologne seems like a generic cologne. To be honest, not much to report here. I might use it up in the mornings. It's like the typical kind of lemony, zesty cologne, but I can't really tell it apart from 1,000 of others. Let's see about L'Homme Idéal Eau de Toilette. That's better. That's more interesting. It's more leathery, but is it that different from Varvatos? You see, what I love about Varvatos is that it's a little bit sweeter. It's not as sharp and merciless as a lot of men's fragrances tend to be. But this actually has some hidden sweetness to it. L'Homme Idéal Eau de Toilette is definitely a contender for me. I wish I could get somewhere like a tiny sample to test drive of Eau de Parfum, because I'm sure that one is probably even sweeter and even more appropriate, not appropriate, but kind of like more suitable for me to wear. But even Eau de Toilette, I actually like it. The more it opens up, the more you get this kind of smooth vanilla sweetness that wraps around those bergamoty and leatherish notes. If you have both, let me know what you think of them. Gentleman by Givenchy, Eau de Toilette. Another one, for some reason I just got it. I'm like really into pretty bottles, and like all of us have our own aesthetical kind of taste of what the pretty means, but I really like their bottle. Unfortunately, as a perfume, it's a big no for me. It's this typical Fahrenheit something aquatic, or maybe Acqua di Gia. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, from Armani. It's like typical, ever so slightly spicy aquatic scent. Not memorable. This is the house that broke my heart. They recently, it's this is gonna be hard. Ermenegildo Zegna. Okay, Zegna. I'm gonna stick with the last name. Here I have Acqua di Bergamoto, but man, their whole line. Peruvian Ambretta. I'm dying to try that. I tested cardamom and duty free, and I almost passed out. It was a beautiful but very quiet kind of coffee smell with cardamom. It was so good. But I can't find samples of those anywhere. It's such a rare house to get samples from. If you guys know of where, or if you can like share this or split, give me like a teeny tiny vial to try. I'm dying to try Ambretta and cardamom. Really want to try them. I just can't shell over like $160 for blindly for their perfumes, but they intrigue me a lot. So okay, Acqua di Bergamoto. Well, it's exactly what it says it is. It's aquatic. It's so bergamotic fresh that it's almost salty. You know, when things get so sour, lemony sour, that it's almost they are twisting into something either vinegarish or salty. No, it's not gonna work. At least it's not gonna work for me. Don't really care to smell it from somebody else either. It's a bit generic to my liking. I feel like it's very hard to distinguish a lot of these, like a lot of these aquatic, bergamotish, citrusy colognes. Like, who knows what is what? They're not very memorable, at least in my book. Another one that was highly recommended as a unisex is Hommage à l'Homme by Lalique. Gosh, I feel like it's very similar in kind of like its overall approach to Dark Rebel by John Varvatos, but here we have a killer dose of syrup. But here in Hommage by Lalique, it's still, I feel like there's some some kind of like either cherry or plum, but it's way more elevated. This is almost like a sweet syrupy jam compared to this one, but I feel like they do share a lot of the same compositional notes. It seems like tobacco leathery with a hint of kind of smoky dried fruit sweetness. Oh, that's the one that it's definitely a high contender for me to get. Hommage à l'homme by Lalique. I'm gonna be wearing that, and if you're curious which ones actually out of the testers that I have I will end up buying, let me know and I'll make a video for you. Okay, the last one is John Varvatos Vintage. As you can see, like, I'm actually a big fan of Varvatos. As I told you, I think it's a great bang for your buck, and they're not as cheesy as the usual ones that everybody buys in Sephora. Vintage. I feel like it's some candy apples in here. It's a bit sugary sweet. You know, it's like apple candy that you mix with citrus and the usual kind of, again, leathery, tobacco-y something base. No, I can't say that the vintage really impresses me. I don't like this apple candy note that my skin pulls out of it. Nope, definitely no. All right, the last one I have to tell you about because this is my love. I tried this one from Scentbird, and I was sold. Apparently it's marketed toward men. I had no idea because I fell in love with it, but I do recognize that this is a very universally appealing unisex scent. There's nothing about it that is trivially female or male, and that is Acqua di Parma Chinotto di Liguria. So I am working through my decant from Scentbird, and I already got myself a bottle. I really love these, like, these blue bottles. They look really cool to me. So Chinotto di Liguria has this, how do you describe it? I actually have never smelled Chinotto in my life. I have no idea what it smells like, but to me, this smells like Italian bag. And yet it doesn't smell leathery. There's something almost like an olive tree branch. For some reason it makes me think of maybe the skin of, you know, like with the peel, the orange peel from like maybe bitter orange, with some of those kind of like shiny thick leaves. It's not leathery, it's not tobacco-y, and yet it's very dense, and it gives me the feeling of an expensive Italian leather purse, leather bag. Not by the smell of the leather, as I was trying to explain, but the impression, the kind of the texture and the density, the smooth and polished texture of this perfume reminds me of, you know, like a really well crafted thick leather bag. It's a little bit orangey, but it's more to the oil of orange rather than the orange blossom or sort of the typical citrusy yummy smells that we expect from colognes and body sprays. It's delicious. Delicious in a very classy, luxurious way. It's not a gourmand, it's not citrusy in its classic sense. As I said, it's more like the peel and the branches and a little bit of an oiliness. It's so good. Oh, I love it. I highly recommend you try it. As far as I know, you can buy small vials from fragrancenet.com for a reasonably cheap price, and you can also get a very generous decant 8 ml for, what is it, $15 from Scentbird. I'll leave a link to Scentbird below. If you're curious, you can use my link, and then you get a free decant and I get a free decant, so we both win. So let me know what you think of this one, because for me it's a definite discovery of this summer. This is like one of the top new perfumes in my collection and the new discoveries in terms of the brand. I didn't really know much about Acqua di Parma before I got into this fragrance, Cinoto di Liguria, so this is like a definite highlight of my summer. Okay, that's it. I have a few other perfumes, men colognes that I have in my collection, I've been having for a long time. If you would like to see a continuation of this discussion, me to show you other perfumes that are marketed toward men or unisex that I use and love on myself and other people, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this video was somewhat, if not useful, at least entertaining, and I'll see you in your next video. Bye!